I would like to welcome everyone to this morning's webinar, Phasing Out Mercury Lamps and How Ready is Your Municipality? My name is Tham. I work with LAS as a municipal program specialist. I've been working for LAS the last 8 years. Prior to LAS, I worked as an energy manager with a municipality outside of the City of London. And with me this morning is John Conrad, president of Conrad Lighting Solutions. Conrad Lighting Solution is a service provider for LAS with our facility lighting program, which we will talk more about in this webinar. And I also have in the house Brad Job, the lighting product manager of Gerrie Electric. And Gerrie Electric also is our product supplier for our facility lighting program. We'll just go a bit into details, how we do what we do as LAS in terms of our programs and in terms of how we get our product suppliers and service providers, the procurement process that is involved. I will talk more about that on the next slide. So, who is LAS? LAS is an organization that works under EMO, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. We are a non-for-profit. Whatever we do, we don't do it for money, so to speak, but we do it to help communities work better. And when I say communities, I'm referring to municipalities. Our mandate is to develop programs and services for Ontario municipalities with 3 objectives in mind: to help them reduce cost, save money, and operate efficiently. And we do this through the programs that we develop. And now for municipalities to participate in, we go through an RFP process, and then we appoint our retain service providers and product suppliers. In terms of the LAS solutions and the programs that we offer to municipalities, we've got them categorized. There are a ton of them, and we have got them categorized under administrative, digital, energy, and asset. And from group buying up to cybersecurity insurance, we've got programs for municipalities to participate in. And as you can see on the screen, we've got these ones highlighted because those are the energy programs that we do offer. Energy planning too, we'll talk more about that, but not at this webinar. You can check it out on our website, energy workshops and training. But for facility lighting service, sure, because the subject is LED upgrade, we will take a deep dive into that particular program. These programs don't cost you money to participate in them. We have done an RFP, undertaking a thorough and very, very competitive RFP process to appoint or retain service providers and product suppliers. So as a municipality, you are allowed through your procurement bylaw to participate in group buying programs. And we as your association is a group buying. So whatever we offer, if we've done an RFP, you are able to participate in. And actually CFTA, Canadian Free Trade Agreement, allow municipalities and organizations to participate in group buying RFP. So whatever we offer here, if you are interested, just shoot us an email, give me a call and say, hey, I like the good work you do. I want to be part of it. Then we'll take it from there. All right. But in terms of RFP, you are covered. It's not single sourcing. I hate using that word because a word that municipalities don't like to hear. I don't like to hear it either, but I always want to put a disclaimer that it's not single sourcing. We've done RFPs for every program that we offer. Right, now let's switch gears and talk about why we are here. The phasing out of mercury-containing lamps. Where did this come from? It all began years ago, over a decade plus, in Minamata, where the UN came together and said, okay, there must be a global treaty on environment and health. And this global treaty is basically targeting mercury-containing lamps. Mercury is being deemed as one of the top 10 chemicals that is of major public concern. It's once it gets into the environment, it doesn't get out of the environment. It just changes from one form to another. Highly toxic, and you don't want. And on that note, I want, and as we are going to talk about lamps, whenever you want to dispose of your CFLs or your fluorescent lamps, please give your municipality a call. Those are hazardous products and they must be disposed of properly. If ever accidentally a fluorescent lamp breaks in your garage, run away. Don't stay. Whatever you're going to inhale there, that's phosphorus powder, that's mercury that has, been transformed to phosphorus powder in those lamps. And whatever you're going to inhale there will not be good for your health in the long term. So just on the side note, let me say that before I forget. Whenever you want to dispose of any of the old lamps in your house, take it to a municipal hazardous dump site. And if they don't have it, just call them. They'll give you some direction regarding that. Now back to Minamata. We've got currently, we're sitting with 153 countries that have ratified this treaty. And if you could remember, way back in 1987, there was a similar one called the Ozone Montreal Protocol. That's ozone depleting substances. A treaty like that was done, and that has been a very popular treaty because every country has signed up for it. We're sitting at 197. Every country in the world has signed up for that particular treaty. With this one regarding mercury-containing lamps, we have only 153, maybe 2/3. So there is still a third that haven't signed up. But Canada has signed up, and as a result of signing up, we have to take certain actions. This all happened in 2013, and after a decade plus in 2026, the actions that are supposed to be taken has now kicked in. And the main culprits with us as municipalities and our community centers and arenas and libraries is our T12s, our CFLs, and our T8s. And on that, I will hand over to Brad to take over from here and just give us a bit of information from an industry perspective where this is going and what kind of impact is it going to be in terms of what we do, because we still have this light in our facilities. The last time I checked, in the fall or spring, we visit municipalities, talk about our programs that we offer to them. The last time I went in a municipality, I checked, it was all T12s in their community center. So they are still here. They are not gone, but there's going to be a pending shortage, I keep saying, carbon or scarcity in getting the resources. So, Brad, take over from here.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Brad Job. I'm the lighting product manager for Gerrie Electric, like Christian said earlier in the conversation. I appreciate your time this morning, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the legislative roadmap and what's going to happen as you move forward when it comes to products that contain mercury. So, on the regulation amendment product containing mercury, the government has come out with a program to regulate when and where and how much longer we have for this product to be around. It's not going to drop dead tomorrow and excuse me, and be done. There's steps and there's a period for us to take a look at and get prepared for it as we move forward. So basically it's to meet all the standards that we have out there, and the target is going to go after the products. Like if you've got T12, T8 mercury lamps in your facility, eventually, and I'll get to that in a few slides, eventually you're going to have problems with the supply chain. Compact fluorescents, that's another big one in your pot lights that everyone is going to run into on that side of it as well. And the screw end based compact fluorescent, a lot of that is pretty well gone by the wayside already because they had started to take that and move that out of the regulations and stop selling that as we move forward. So it's going to affect metal halide lamps as well. A lot of the different facilities you're going to run into, high bays, sports lighting, those type of applications that will have mercury lamps in. There has been a lot of communities that upgraded to LED. High pressure sodium lamps, there still is some out there. So yeah, those are the type of products that you got to take a look at as you move forward to see what you have in your facilities and what the guidelines are going to be as you move forward on it. So here's the regulation timelines for the gradual phase out of the products. So that screw end based lamps we can't sell this product, but it has already started before January 1st, 2026. That we can't sell the product because the manufacturers had already started to phase it out. I talked about CFLs, the compact fluorescents with the pin-based for pot lights, that type of application. So as of January 1st of 2026, the manufacturers have to start to reduce their manufacturing of the product. So the exemption period for them and import and all that is from January 1st, 2026 till December 31st, 2027. So basically January 1st, 2028, they're not allowed to produce the lamps anymore. So they will have to start to transition over. Come January 1st of 2030, we're no longer, as a distributor, allowed to sell those lamps. So that's where you're going to kind of come in to the equation here, why we're presenting today for everybody to be able to start to look at what they've got in their facilities, what can they do moving forward. It is a little bit of a timeline that they have in there, and same timeline when it comes to the T8 fluorescents. Again, January 1st, 2030, we're no longer to sell it. It doesn't mean that they're not going to be out there, but you're going to have to be prepared and take a look at budgets and all that and start your process there. HPS metal halide, they have January 1st, 2029. They haven't really put a date out when we can stop selling them. There still is a lot of metal halide, not as much HPS out there in the marketplace. So these are kind of the guidelines and the dates that as a distributor or manufacturer that we have to work with as we move forward. And we have to be prepared ourselves to be able to continue to supply what we have out there, but also understanding when and where we can no longer sell it. So what's going to be the impact of the situation? And how will this impact the supply chain? We've already started to see pricing increases on traditional lamps. So that's your T8s, T12s. There's still some out there. Fluorescents, all that type of stuff. HID, we're starting to see prices go up. And then we're getting in to see where they're starting to do inventory reductions on product and that. So as you guys get into it, you're starting to, as a municipality, you're probably looking at everything and things are hard to get and all that. HID is where it's really starting to come into play. The fluorescent side, yes, there's still lots of inventory out there. And as we get closer to the date, you'll see that a lot of vendors have already started to reduce their product and inventory levels and things like that. Europe has already started to phase these out. They have a plan in place. Like usually you see Europe about 3 to 5 years ahead of us when it comes to the different impacts of the lamps and that. So they've already started to phase out. And what we are seeing is a lot of our manufacturers that we deal with, a lot of their plants are in Europe, Asia market. They've already started to do that. So their reduction, and they don't have that mass production to keep the cost down. So that's why you're starting to see some of the pricing of the traditional lamps go up. So yes, you have to be prepared. We have to be ready for that as we move forward. So we look forward to helping you in any way we can. So I'll turn it over to Christian or John. Is there?
Thank you, Brad. Yeah, right. Thank you, Brad, for that. Just talking about Europe, comparing, since this is an environmental treaty, comparing it with the ozone layer, that was some years down the line that came into being. And now we've seen all the refrigerant, revolution that happened, evolution, rather, moving from one form of refrigerants that were really not helping the environment to environmentally friendly refrigerants. So, excuse me, with the lamps, I'm seeing the similar thing happen. The timeline was like some years ago. Current next year, all this regulation kicks in, and the time will come, we'll just have to get rid of all the fluorescent lamps and the T8s and the T12s. And that's why LAS comes in as as your municipal association. We've got a program that helps you to upgrade your lights to to LEDs. And we call it the LAS Facility Lighting Service. And our service provider there is John Conrad. I'm tempted to say Honorable John Conrad. I don't know where that is coming from, but John, over to you.
Well, I thank you very much for that. So my name is John Conrad. I've been in the lighting business for 40 years now. Worked with a major manufacturer, both on the product side and on the services side. And what we see is that regulations are starting to push out the old existing systems, and they're replacing it with something. So I wanted to go over maybe 5 or 6 key areas that we would like to look at and how that matches up with previous.
Mhm.
And that's from LED versus whatever your existing is.
Right.
So we see LED it's got some energy savings. Generally, I would use a 50% as your norm. It's got maintenance savings. You're taking out the old, putting in the new, and hopefully there's nothing to maintain for that 7 to 10 year period afterwards. And to the good side, it's got available incentives.
Yeah. Just want to comment on the incentives. They are available now, but they will not be here forever. And I always say, as we have known with other incentives that have come and gone, either from provincial or from federal. So now that they are available, if you still have these lamps, hey, consider going ahead. We recently did an upgrade with a long-term care facility, and the municipality got almost 50 grand, as incentives for taking up all the old lights, the metal halides, the fluorescent lamps. So a comment on the incentives. They are great for business, helping you with your upfront costs between 10 to 15, even 9%, even 1% is great. So just a note to the side note on incentives. John, continue, please.
So the first point we want to look at is efficiency. So with LED, there's an efficiency gain. So at the moment, you're probably at 150 lumens per watt. We measure efficiency in lumens per watt. How much output versus our consumption? In the existing systems, you're probably sitting somewhere in and around that 70 lumens per watt. So we're in effect doubling that. The manufacturers, when they match up their drivers and their boards, they want to look at how well they can reduce the heat. If you can reduce the heat, you can increase the output. So that 150 lumens per watt is probably the average now. You can get some higher. It may cost you a little bit more. You'll get some less depending on the type. But the second area that we look at when we talk about efficiency is that with LED, everything comes out of the fixture. It's very angular and very direct as it comes out of the diodes. And this says that you can build better fixtures and that your existing system, your existing system loses light inside that fixture. It billows up and about, whereas LED comes straight out. There's a huge gain there. 20, 30, 40, 50% of your output can get lost in a fixture and it's existing the way it is existing. LED helps to negate that. So why does efficiency matter? Energy savings. Higher efficiency means lower electricity bills. There's less impact to the environment. You have fewer emissions because you're using less consumption. And then you've got a huge design flexibility. Your fixture's smaller, it's lighter. It doesn't need to contain as much heat. And they're very important points when you're looking at the efficiency of LED and how you move from the old system to the new system. Then we have color rendering index. So color rendering is how well does a light source render color? In the existing systems, your light sources are probably 70 to 80 out of a scale of 100. It's good, very good. LED on a typical system is 80. So we see that LED is as good as the existing systems, maybe a little bit better. You can always get a higher CRI. You're going to pay for it. But the CRI, the better the CRI, the better the eye will see. It helps you with your color contrast, but it also helps you with the different colors. Can you see red? Can you see green? Can you see blue? And how well that color, that light source helps you define those colors. Then we go color CCT, which is essentially color temperature. Okay, so everyone knows cool white. That's what they have in their facilities now. Warm white would be incandescent light bulbs, what we used to have in our homes, maybe in high-end restaurants where you want to bring someone in. It's a warm, inviting environment. 4,000 degrees Kelvin is maybe a little bit more active. It causes you to be a little bit more energetic. And we see that in offices and commercial environments. LED has the exact same characteristics. So it tries to mimic that existing system. And we see it's a perfect diagram on the page here from 2200 degrees Kelvin, which you would find in roadway lighting, high pressure sodium lighting, all the way up. I would probably end it at about 5,000 K. It gets a little bit harsh after that. And we see there's no difference between LED and what your existing system would be.
Right. John, I've got a story there for you. There was this school board, and the principal got them to do their lights. And when they did the lights, 5,000, 4,000, I'm not sure what it was, but it was a better lighting. And the next day, when the principal got to the school after the upgrade, he called the contractor, just like yourself, to say, thank you for the great work you did, and thank you for painting the walls as well. The walls were not painted. He saw it much better because it had a better lighting. So it's a story I always share when it comes to color temperature. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, over to you. Continue, please.
So this next slide, this is very important and probably the most important one that I will present. It's called life rating. So LED is a little bit different than what we would have as life rating on existings. Existing systems would say that your life rating, if they said your life was 20,000 hours, that would mean that 20,000 hours, you would have 50% survivors, meaning 50% would be dead and 50% would continue to go. That's the existing. LED changes that a little bit. So I'm just going to give you an example, and then we can kind of work our way through any questions that might be out there. But if someone said you had a 50,000 hour fixture life or lamp life LED, and it was at LM 70, lumen maintenance 70, that means that at 50,000 hours, you will have lost up to 30% of your light. The fixture is going to continue to illuminate and continue to work, but you're going to lose 30% of the light. And you can see the impact of that on this little diagram. You start with 100%, but your fixture continues to go at the bottom end of it, at that 50,000 hours, it starts to go at 30% less light. And the reason that's important is when you design your area or your space, you have to make sure you've got enough light to meet your operational outline or your operational plan. If you say it's 20 years and you can't get there with the right amount of light, then your plan's going to get shortened up. So light level becomes very important, especially if it's a rink, if it's a pool, if it's a tennis court, anywhere where light becomes important. The visibility becomes important. You can mitigate this, and you can mitigate this in two ways. One is through your design process, where you start a little bit higher and your design level takes into account that loss. Or, and we'll get a little bit into it, a couple slides, is this idea of flexible fixtures, where you can adjust the output of the fixture at the fixture. So maybe it's a little bit lower at the start, but then you can kick it up once that light level starts to deteriorate. Now, if your operating hours are 2,000 a year, you got about 20 years before it starts to decay. So that's still a long period of time. But if your operating hours are in around 5,000 hours, then you can have some difficulties in that 5 to 7 year period if your fixture starts to lose too much light too quickly. That 7 to 10 year period becomes very difficult to manage from a light level standpoint. Okay, so that's a tough one to get your head around, but it's very important to consider when you're looking at how to upgrade your system. So I talked a little bit about fixture flexibility. You can change the lumen output of the fixture. So in that previous, we talked about the light level reduces. Okay, great. So if I have it on the lowest setting, maybe as a 2x4 fixture, it's 30, 40, and 50 watts of output. Well, obviously, if it's at 30, it's going to have X amount of output. If it's at 40, it's going to have a higher output. So as we go along on our overall system, we're 15 years down the road, we start to lose some light. We can always kick that up a bit to the next level. Our light level increases. Unfortunately, so does our power consumption. And if we can manage the lower or higher amount of light within that one fixture, we can better mimic existing systems, the 2-lamp, 3-lamp, 4-lamp types. That's really important because it reduces your inventory of fixture types or fixture requirements on site. And as we mentioned, the fixtures age, the ability to raise the lumens remains. You've always got that, and then you can manage your consumption as well.
Right.
And so that's on board with the fixture. Same with the CCT, or the color temperature. You can control that output right at the fixture. So it's very flexible in that regard as well. I put the 3,500, 4,000, 5,000 degrees Kelvin. Those are pretty standard. That's how a 2x4 fixture would come down. That you can manage your color requirement in whatever office, wherever.
Right.
And then the last point is that has to do with voltage in. And that voltage in you can use from 120 to 347 volt in the same fixture. So once again, it reduces your requirement for inventory on site.
Right. John, depending on what a municipality may want or may need, you are available to offer advice in regard what kind of fixture they will need for a particular facility.
Yeah, I mean I I think most manufacturers have worked with the same format.
Right.
The previous would have been a dedicated fixture at a dedicated wattage at a dedicated CCT and a
Right.
dedicated voltage.
Right.
This limits how you can work, but it also requires this inventorying of fixtures, which is what you're going to try and get away from and make it more generic with with that one fixture type that improves your flexibility. And that's not just on 2x4s and 1x4s and 2x2s. That's also for different configurations of that 2x4, 1x4, 2x2, and also pot lights, different lamp types. You've got some opportunity for this flexibility. So throughout the range of LED, you've got this improved flexibility. And it's just meant to help on how you can maintain your system down the road. It reduces that requirement for inventory or cost.
Right. Okay, cool. Right, lighting control.
And then we look at lighting control. How do you control your light? So LED is much simpler to dim than fluorescent or HID. As a matter of fact, it's not only easier, it's, I mean, fluorescent and HID dimming is, you know, that's a work of art if you can do it. So previous, where this is important is if you light a space with today's LED, without the intention to overlight it, you can just overlight it because it may have been designed for another type of workspace when the building was built. And that becomes difficult to manage. And dimming allows you that opportunity very simply. You can dim, you can daylight harvest, you can motion sensor. So you've got all these opportunities with this LED. It's simple 0 to 10 volt dimming. So essentially what you're doing is voltage to the fixtures remains the same, but you're going to run low voltage wire to each of the secondary sides of your driver on the fixture. And essentially that's what you're controlling is the secondary side of the fixture or of the transformer. You're not controlling the voltage in. That just stays on. You're controlling the secondary side. And you can do that low voltage wiring, or you can do that through wireless connectivity now.
Right.
And on the wireless, you'd have a module. That module then is contacted by your controller. Your controller might be on the wall, might be a wall switch, might be on a computer system, or might be on your phone.
Right.
So you have that capability. And within that package, you have capability to not only control the group of fixtures, but you can also provide for presets where you've got different functions at different light levels for your facility. There is cost, but long-term, it's meant so that you've got some capability to recoup that dollars and cents through your energy savings, through your operating costs. Remember that if you lower the consumption within the fixture, you reduce the amount of heat within that fixture. And it extends out the operating life of that system.
Yeah, I once visited a municipality, and because they were using HIDs and metal halides, and they wouldn't turn the light on, I mean off. They turn it off on in the morning and it stays on throughout the whole day. And I kind of asked this, so why is it so? And I knew the reason. I wanted to hear what they would tell me. And he said, yeah, it doesn't have an instant on. It takes about 30 minutes or so to finally bright. So when we have ice rentals back to back to back, we can't be turning it on and off. So I just said this is a classical example of why we should have LED, because you're going to have that instant on and off capability, and of course controls, just as you said it also. So it's certainly a plus, when it comes to LEDs in this regard. Lighting control, one of the pluses, and energy savings being another, and the other. So yeah, anyway, so we are on this screen. In terms of LAS facility lighting service, what kind of program is this? How does it work? John, you've been with LAS MO for the last 10 years now, and you know the in and outs of this. In terms of a high-level data gathering, what does that mean to someone listening?
So the first stage of what we do is the facility gathers some data for us. How many fixtures? How many fixtures are 2 lamp? How many fixtures are 3 lamp? How many fixtures are 4 lamp? And they provide us that information, very high level, and we do a base evaluation of that data, and we put a number to it. And we've been around, for a lengthy period of time, but we're pretty accurate on what we would establish as a budget cost. And that budget cost is based on the type of facility, the number of lamps, and what we expect that fixture type to be. And then if the budget's approved and someone likes us, they say, we would like to go to the second step, which is essentially the on-site lighting survey. We get a little bit more in depth. We go room by room. We evaluate the type of fixture in each room, identifying that. We identify the hours of operation. And this is very, very important, because it allows you to figure out if a payback is capable, or if you're going to be extended much past your comfort level with that ROI, that hours of operation versus saving.
That's right.
That on-site lighting survey is very important to us because it tells us what's there, the voltage, the operating hours, ceiling height. If you have a very dark area, type is important. And then from there, we can move that to the design and proposal stage. And that just kind of fills in the blanks and allows us some opportunity to be quite a lot more specific about that facility.
Right.
Then from that, we can identify what incentive amount we expect to get. And the way that incentive works today, this is the IESO Save on Energy program. It's an instant incentive. So if we purchase a 2x4 fixture, let's say, we will receive a purchase discount on that fixture. And it's our job to pass that along to the customer.
Right.
And what we do is we have a project amount, and then we have another line that says incentive amount, and that's reduced or subtracted from that project amount. And
Right.
then we end up with the project amount at the bottom. Okay.
Mhm. Right.
Very important area. It's auditable by IESO. And they start with the distributor or Brad's group. And their program is province wide. But the key area there is it's auditable.
Mhm.
So if we're not passing that on, then we got other problems.
So they're not doing the paper application that we used to do for them. Now you get it from the distributor, which is much easier, quicker, and simpler, but auditable. So you guys do the right thing also. You don't want to be in trouble.
Yeah, you get it at time of purchase.
Purchase, that's right. And at installation, what exactly goes on there?
So that then we would move to the installation place where now you've got to take the old system out. You have to put the new system in. You want to make sure that, so we make sure that we've got, proper insurance, that we've got proper contractor. We want a contractor that can get into that situation, or that get into that installation and out of it. You probably will have some deficiencies. Remember, it's an old facility. It sounds easy. Well, we're just counting light bulbs, but it's not easy. Trust me. You find stuff that you just don't expect. So that installation time and period, we want to get in, get out with at the least amount of disruption as possible.
Mhm.
But it's really important, and it's to that mercury reduction regulations, that all the lamps in that facility are properly recycled. So we don't have to document that anymore, but we do have to make sure that we go through proper channels to get that recycled. We usually work with a distributor, and they will usually have a program that allows us to send back lamps. They've already charged us for that recycle. It's already there. I don't charge the customer. I get charged, but everything is now just a big circle. It must be recycled. And that recycler is responsible to get rid of that mercury component and the phosphor component.
Right.
And then the final step of that would be commissioning, if required. Not all facilities need a commissioning, but if you're doing a rink or an office facility where you've got a push button, away you go.
Right. Talking about the recycling, and in preparing for this webinar, I did a bit of research, and I found out that T12s contains 5 milligrams to 90 milligrams of mercury. That's a 1.5 inch in diameter T12, and T8, 1 inch in diameter, 10 milligrams or less of mercury. To me, that was mind-blowing. We've stayed with these lamps. We grew up with it. That's the lamp when we came of age, we saw our fathers and mothers using it. But to see that you're living next by something that is so toxic is kind of a wake-up call. So glad to hear recycling is being done, and I guess it's a hazardous, recycling that they are doing because of the mercury. But I never thought of it that way, but certainly very dangerous. Sorry if I cut you in, but I wanted to make a comment there. And yeah, if you don't mind the commissioning, what really takes place in terms of ESA and all this other sort of stuff that you guys do for commissioning?
Nothing to do with ESA. ESA is at the installation point with your contractor.
Okay. Right.
Contractor's got to be viable enough to take the ESA. The commissioning is if you've got either a wireless or a wired system, it's just gathering all the fixtures so that they can communicate with your controller.
Right.
And however that is set up by the type of material that we use, you can then start to determine what that's going to look like for your space. So if we were doing a rink, very important, you get 100%. Well, maybe that's your high-end hockey level. But then you also do recreational play. Maybe you want to have a lower light level for that recreational play because the play is not moving as fast. So maybe it's 100% and 75%. And then maybe you want a 50% because you've got skating or some public activities that are very slow. And maybe that's going to be your daytime during the summer when the ice is out for children's play, workshops, etc. And then maybe you'll have a 30%, 20% for your ongoing maintenance. So you see that 100% is what we say the energy level is going to be, your consumption level. At the end of it, once you've done all of your controls, and this would go for an office facility as well, you see the reductions based on what their operating hours are. Maybe you can even break it down a little bit further into what those areas of usage are. So that commissioning becomes very important if you're working with controls in whatever environment. Your athletic facility, maybe it's your shop areas where you store trucks, etc. And then your office facilities. So each one can be maintained to have different light levels upon function.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that in-depth information. So whatever John said, these are the example of some of the facilities that we've been to and we've done it. We've had close to 100 municipalities that have participated in the LAS facility lighting service. And we've got close to 200 projects that we've done in long-term care. So we have almost 10 long-term cares of expertise under our belt. Even in COVID, we're working in a long-term care facility. How was that, John? I remember in COVID, we're doing one long-term care facility. And your guys didn't really like it because you have to be tested every time they went to the facility. Yeah,
that was not pleasant.
I know. So we've been there, we've done that. Municipal offices, libraries, town halls, gymnasiums, arenas. Of late, we're doing a lot of ball diamonds, and rightfully so, because every ball diamond we have at this point was built in the 60s or 70s or at best the 80s. So is that they are at that point with this amount of mercury that is in these slums to get rid of them. So rightfully so, sporting fields are becoming a big one that we're working on. And wanted to mention this. I know we've always come across funding and municipalities will say, hey, but we don't have the money. There is money. There is money available and lots of money available. We did a webinar last week on Show Me the Money in terms of where are funding federal and provincial to do our energy efficiency projects. I thought I would mention this as a slide from that webinar. And we have what we call the Canada Community Building Fund. Gas tax, it used to be referred to as, has been around for some time now. Now it's as a new name. And this funding is permanent, is predictable, and it's always going to come. Every year in mid-November, mid-July, you are going to get this money. So how do you access it? There is a category for energy retrofits and community energy systems. So if you're a municipality on board and you're thinking of how do we get rid of these slums in the community center or a library or maybe at our wastewater treatment plant, how do we do this? This is toxic material sitting here as lighting. How do we get rid of it? You can access funding from here to get to address these projects that you want to do. And this is how you do it. Make sure the project you want to do, the retrofit project you want to do, shows up in your asset management plan. When it shows up in your asset management plan, then the next year, when the funding is available, you can attribute or you can get some of those funding for that particular project. So funding is available, and this is one source that I felt I should share with you. And if you want to, when you making the asset management plan and you've identified maybe a library or a community center that you want to upgrade and you don't know the cost, as LAS, we do free project proposals. I mean, that's part of the data gathering. When we get the information, we'll send you a spreadsheet, you give us the numbers, we'll spit out a budget, a very high level budget proposal. So you can include the project in your asset management plan prior to the next year. And next year, when the funds are available, you can make use of it. We have done a thorough process for you to take advantage of. I have a personal story here because I said I worked proud to LAS. I worked with a municipality outside of London. That was Middlesex Centre Municipality. I was the energy manager there, in charge of retrofits, community centers, office buildings, making sure they are LED. I did everything by myself. And non-temp RFPing, chasing contractors, and everything that you're supposed to do to get the retrofit done. When I moved across in 2017 and I came to run this program, I said, oh my God, I hope this program was around when I was the energy manager. It will make my work more easier. In other words, LAS will run with it and I can focus on other pressing needs. And that comes very handy for a small to medium-sized municipalities. So let me see if there are any questions. There's chat, there's Q&A, there's 3, so let's address it. Not clear on what is commissioning. Thanks. Okay, before we address that, we still got some time. We got 6 minutes. We'll do that. Let me do the second question. Says, are they going to ban T5 lamps as well? And they're not clear has been said clear, so that's okay. Maybe Brad, are they going to ban T5 lamps as well?
Yeah, T5, T8s will be banned as well. Any fluorescent lamps will be eventually out of the equation.
Okay, good to know. I hope whoever asked that question has got an answer to that. And can the on-site lighting survey be conducted in all Ontario municipalities, or do they do virtual for remote municipalities? John, someone is asking about, is it all Ontario municipalities? I know the answer, but I want you to answer.
Well, we would like to think that if it's remote, that we can work with both through some on-site work by the municipality and also by virtual.
Okay.
At some point in time, we would work out how well we could get that work done using local sources.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's a cost impact, highly dependent on that. But a lot of the concern would be, well, what kind of material would you use? What kind of retrofit would you look at? And a lot of that can be done passing pictures back and forth and space requirements back and forth.
Okay.
If that's the requirement, I think that just allows for the cost to be kept to a minimum, and that return on investment gets turned back into the municipality.
Right. Okay. I hope that is clear to the question who posed the question. Brad, there's a question here for you. It says, it's just the sale and purchase of the lamp that is banned, correct? There are no issues if you still have, if they still are in our facilities. Brad, do you like to answer that?
Yeah, if you still have them, they're still operating. There's no issues on that side. It's just you won't be able to purchase them to replace them if they burn out.
Exactly. So it's being phased out. There's a timeline. So if you still have them in your facility, sure. I mean, it's still providing light for the occupants or for people that use that particular facility. But when it run out, or when the bulbs, are not working again, there will be no supply for you. So it's time to consider LED, so to speak, in other ways. Right. And another question says, would there be municipal audits regarding the use of these lamps to ensure that no one is still utilizing fluorescent? Oh, I love that question. Okay. Would there be municipal audits?
No, there won't be any audits because, like I said earlier, just the last question is, once they're installed, you guys have inventory, nobody's going to be auditing if you're doing it or not. You just, when it comes to, when your inventory runs out, you just won't be able to purchase them again after
Right.
January 1st of 2030. If you still have them sitting around your facility and that, there's nothing stopping you to not use them. Just as a distributor, we won't be able to sell, distributors won't be able to sell them, big
That's
box
right.
stores, those type of companies.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I think this
interesting to note, and
Mhm.
please remember that it'll become increasingly more difficult to get the accessories. So ballast, control gear for HID fixtures, such as ballast, such as igniters, such as capacitors. So all of that starts to go by the wayside as well as that volume plummets.
That's
And
right.
it will plummet. There might be a few people that stockpile, but it will plummet. So whatever
Mhm.
you've got in inventory at your facilities is fine.
Mhm.
And your existing systems aren't going to fall off the face of the earth because they banned everything. They're going to still operate.
Right.
The
Yeah.
caveat is, how do you maintain that system as you go down the road? And even in the next couple of years, I think the distribution and the manufacturing will start to reduce capacity, and
Right.
price starts to increase, supply starts to shorten.
That's
And
right.
2 or 3 years down the road, what do? What decision do you make long term for your facilities?
Right.
That's the key. And what's that budget going to be?
That's right. Quick one before we go, we've got a minute to go. It says you mentioned incentives. Who get incentives under new program? The incentives is available with the lighting supplier. It's not just Brad. I think there are other suppliers out there that have been approved by the IESO. But we as LAS with our municipalities work with our vetted and preferred partner, and that's Gerrie Electric. And slightly off topic, but are there any existing incentives for retrofit street lighting? So far as I know, I think there is nothing available at this point, but I can find out and send an answer to you. And the final question,
I can answer that one, Christian.
Okay, sure. Go ahead, Brad.
Currently, there is no incentives for exterior lighting, street lighting, any lighting in parking lots and all that. There is
Right.
a conversation. You never know come January 1st that they may come back into play, but currently, right now, there is no
Right.
incentives.
Okay. And the final question is your presentation you mentioned 45 to 70 energy reduction, just a gentle, it's only lighting load reduction, not entire building energy reduction of 45 to 70. John, can you touch on that quickly? I know it's top
Yeah.
of the hour and we have to go.
Yeah.
It says it's only energy load and not the entire load.
It's just against your lighting load.
Exactly.
So we would do the calculation, the original consumption. That's why your operating hours is very important. And then we do an after. So,
Right.
and we don't make any presupposed judgments on, oh, well, we're going to save because we're going to turn the lights off more.
Right.
We don't make that. If it's a 5,000 operating hour, that's what we use. If you happen to have some dimming in there, we would take that offline and say, well, yeah, you might save some extra dollars because of dimming. So it's always, what's that top line? What's that look like? How much are you spending on your energy cost? Now, we make some assumptions on that energy cost. We tend to use a blended rate. And that's just, it's easy to work with, but it also gives you a really good picture of
Right.
what that looks like.
Okay. Right. Thank you for coming. Thank you for tuning in. Give us a call. We are here to help you to make sure we keep our environment healthy, and also to make sure that you save money as a municipality by converting and upgrading your facilities to LED. So on that note, I want to say have a great week, and sure, feel free to reach out to us anytime. We'll be in touch. Take care. Bye.